Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the July 6th Portland Children's Levy Allocation Committee meeting. I'm City Commissioner and Allocation Committee Chair Dan Saltzman, and with us today are my committee colleagues. On my right is Julie S. Young, who is the City of Portland appointed member. Next to her is Mitch Horniker, representing the Portland Business Alliance. On my far left is Serena Stoudemire Wesley, the Multnomah County Citizen Representative. And seated next to me is Multnomah County Chairwoman Deborah Kafori. And I'll introduce the Levy staff now. We have Director Lisa Pellegrino, Assistant Director Meg McElroy, Lisa Hansel, Mary Gay Broderick, and John Kelly. And before we get started, let's approve the minutes from our June 2nd meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve our June 2nd meetings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Next, we have time for, as we always do on our agenda, we have time for public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to us on something that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will then move ahead. We've set, and we do have time set aside if you wish to speak on the agenda items as well. So just a bit of background. At our previous meetings, we approved $7.6 million in new investments in helping children be successful, out of a total of $8.1 million in what we had available. And that's $8.1 million more than what we projected to be available. So now we are, hopefully today, we're going to finish allocating the remaining $509,000 in funding. And we're looking at options that include current grants, and if we choose to, also unfunded applicants from our previous funding round. And with that, I'm going to ask our Levy staff to come up here and walk us through their recommendations, and then we'll discuss those, and then we'll take action. Welcome.
Okay, well, whatever. Okay, well, as Dan said, we're here to give you an overview of the recommendations. I'm not going to go into great detail. They've been put out front, and just so everyone knows, they were mailed to the committee members last week, as well as to all the applicants and all of the current grantees. So folks have seen the recommendations. So I'll just kind of briefly review where staff's coming from on recommendations. So first off, we did not recommend any additional investment in early childhood programs at this juncture, specifically because the committee chose to invest much more than the staff had originally recommended that we invest in early childhood programs, which has left our percentage of investment in this program area at about over 36%. Which is double than we have in any other program, any other single program area, and is also more than 50% of the revenues that we had that were projected to be over what we had originally thought we would have. So we've made a significant investment as the bottom line in early childhood, and the other thing to keep in mind is that programs in foster care and in child abuse prevention and intervention, as well as hunger relief, all serve kids 0 to 5. So we are heavily invested in that population, and we think that there's supports that the kids who are older than 5 need as well. So we've not made any further recommendations for early childhood investments, and that includes both the Neighborhood House and the UMAL preschool proposals that we considered at the last meeting. So that was the primary reason why we did not recommend those. In addition, there was specific reasons related to Neighborhood House. I know one of the committee members had asked about that, and we wanted to make clear that we thought that would be supplanting PPS funding and too much of a risk of that. So we didn't want to do that. And with UMAL, we were concerned that there were funding sources they could use to fund the population that they wanted. That currently exist, namely ERDC and your previous allocation to the Child Care Initiative, which will both be available to them. And we'll work with their staff if they're interested in pursuing those to help them in doing that. So those were the things we didn't recommend. What we did recommend was that you consider the recommendations that were made for June 2nd. Not all of those were funded. Some were not funded at all. Some were funded only in part. And I would say we stand by those recommendations because they were based primarily on the factors that you all asked us to consider in thinking about what grants we should increase or what grants we should fund that were unfunded. And those factors included things like the percent of the request that was awarded, the level of funding funding as compared to the level of funding that a grantee might have had before the major cuts that we made, in which some grantees suffered 30 and 40% cuts, current performance, current grant spending, these kinds of factors. So we made the recommendations that you fully fund what we've asked you to fund on June 2nd, and those are on sort of the first page of the staff recommendations and are detailed there with rationales. All the amounts that are listed there would be the amounts that would take up to what the full recommendation was for June 2nd. In addition to those, we made 3 further funding recommendations in after-school and mentoring program area, primarily because we're underinvested compared to goal now in those areas due to the additional investments in early childhood and other areas. And the specific recommendations and programs and rationales are listed on the sheet that was sent out to you all and was also sent out to all the applicants and grantees. So I won't detail those specifically. Is there any questions about how we got to where we stood on this, or any issues people want to clarify before we take testimony?
Why don't you just run down the list, since there's just about
Sure.
9 of them, and just read out the
Sure.
organization and the staff recommended funding.
So for the recommendations that were not fully funded on June 2nd, there's 5 of those that we recommended fully funding. The first was in child abuse prevention intervention, and that was for SEI intensive parenting services. $13,000 would take that up to the full staff recommendation. Also in child abuse prevention, the Impact Northwest Parent-Child Involvement Project, that was also not fully funded at the last meeting. We recommended $9,000 increase to come to the full level. For foster care, Impact Safe and Together was not the full increase, no increase was given to this grant at all, and we had recommended $40,000 last time, and that's based on matching their 13-14 funding level, which was the year before the new RFI was issued. For after-school enrichment, Impact Northwest Urban Opportunities, we recommended that had been increased there was $12,000 additional increase that they did not receive, so we're recommending that be given now. Also for after-school enrichment, we had recommended that $75,000 be increased to Saturday Academy's after-school grant. That was not, no increase was given at the June 2nd meeting, so we're recommending that be fully funded as well. For programs that were additional recommendations that were not made on June 2nd, and these were made based on the fact that there was additional funds which we hadn't anticipated at the June 2nd meeting. For after-school intensive academic supports, we recommended 2 programs be increased. ERCO Inspire, which serves a variety of different ethnic and racial groups. After-school academic support, Human Solutions, which is a LearnLinks program, operates at housing complexes. And then we recommended that you fund College Possible under mentoring, which is not the area in which it had applied originally. However, they meet the criteria and they meet the priorities for that funding area, and so staff thought that was a worthwhile investment to make.
And College Possible is David Douglas.
Yes, David Douglas High School Program.
Okay, great.
College Possible is all for high school because it's all about college entry, so no matter what, it'll be high school age kids.
Okay.
Any
Well-
questions about the programs or anything else before we go on to offer testimony?
Okay.
Okay.
So is there anybody that wishes to speak to us concerning the recommendations that we're considering for additional funding? Okay, that's one hand. We got room for 3 up here, so. Great, so if you can just give us your name and if you wish the organization you're speaking on behalf of, and you each have up to 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Poling,
I'm Kiana Williams.
and we're the management team at the Volunteers of America Family Relief Nursery. We wanted to take this opportunity to voice our appreciation for your continued support and let you know that we have deepened and reinforced our model and have enhanced services for families at the Relief Nursery in the following ways. By building in-house partnerships, we have expanded to offer specialized parenting expertise, which has increased the number of home visits families can expect to get from our staff. We've hired qualified staff, including family advocates, who provide comprehensive support and services to families to meet their individual needs. Coming this fall, we will be adding physical health services for children and parents through a Northwest Center for Natural Medicine on-site clinic, and in-house mental health services will be offered also for families that we serve. Moving to a medical model allows us to serve families using a trauma-informed, strengths-based model in which they can receive needed services in a convenient location where they know staff and where there is childcare available on site.
In addition to PCL funding for culturally specific services, we have been able to increase the diversity of our staff. We have increased the number of African American children served to 33%. And with the newly created positions of culturally specific family advocate, peer mentor, and teachers, along with culturally specific on-site parenting classes and support groups, we have been able to increase the engagement with these families. With your continued support, we hope to grow our new model and serve even more families by providing additional home-based services and respite care during afternoon hours.
Do you have any questions for us?
Well, thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. I'm Julie Mancini, Executive Director of College Possible permanently for the last month. I fear that you think I'm stalking you, and I apologize for that. We probably will keep stalking you. I'm here for, mine is very short. One, to thank you for reconsidering us in this year's levy. We have just finished our second year. Last year we started with juniors. This year we had juniors and seniors. And of the graduating class of seniors, 63% are of students of color. 98% of them applied to college. 95% of them were accepted into college, and 83% of them were accepted into a four-year college. These are all kids that have to receive money to go to college. Also this year, in our junior year, we raised the ACT score 23.5%, which is our benchmark. I've never worked with an organization that has such high benchmarks and meets them. The best thing I'm going to do for you right now is to introduce you to Paige Hill. Paige was an AmeriCorps volunteer last year, coaching at David Douglas, and this year she is our program coordinator in charge of all the junior coaches. Paige?
Hi, so as Julie said, my name is Paige Hill, and I was a junior coach at David Douglas, which is the school that's being considered for your funds. And I'm so grateful because funds like this help us continue to support more students. And whenever I speak, I like to sort of talk about our students. So I'm going to share with you a speech I gave to my students at our end of year celebration last year that speaks to their accomplishments and how much I love them. So this year, I called you from the grocery store, friends' houses, restaurants, and public bathrooms to remind you about ACTs, community service days, and campus visits. I wrote last-minute rec letters and made last-minute phone calls about summer enrichment scholarships. I almost missed a plane to my sister's college graduation, texting one of you directions to register for the ACT. Basically, I walked through fire for you. And I didn't walk through fire because I had to, or because I got a performance bonus, or because I wanted to be a jerk, or annoy you, or because I don't have a life. I walked through fire because you are the smartest, most dedicated, mature, and capable young people that I know. And I walk through fire for you because your future isn't just about you, or me, or College Possible. I walk through fire for you because you are the kind of people who, on the path to success, will drag hundreds of others along with you. And you will make better communities and better cities and a better world for everyone, including me. And sometimes thinking about you all applying and going to college makes me sad because I know it's going to be really hard. You're going to get rejected from your dream school. You're going to get to the absolute final round of a scholarship and then not get it. You're going to feel alone and lost in your first few weeks or maybe years of college. You're going to have a professor who terrifies you. You're going to want to quit at least once, but probably like 100 times. And those are the times I need you to remember why I walked through fire for you. I didn't walk through fire, and I wouldn't walk through fire if I wasn't absolutely sure that you are the kind of people that this world should be filled with, and that you deserve to accomplish every goal and dream that you have for yourself, even if it's a bumpy road along the way. And if you believe in yourselves with 1 ounce of the conviction that I have for you, you'll be able to walk through fire for yourselves over and over and be the people that you want to be. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Paige. Hi.
So I don't think I'm stalking you. I'm Jerry Janowski, the Executive Director of Saturday Academy, but I do think we have to stop meeting like this. I just again want to thank the staff for a recommendation again to be funded. I want to remind you that at the last session, it was to our knowledge not that you had concerns, but rather you had run out of money by that time. I would like you to consider the additional funding in the letter that I sent you for the summer program, because unless we fund that year-round education, we are always going to have that gap in the fall for children from low-income families who don't have additional enrichment or academic achievement opportunities. If you have any questions, I'd love to take them, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, then we're at the point now where the committee needs to make some decisions. We've heard the staff recommendations, we've taken testimony. We've all submitted slates to the staff for them to review and for us to see each other's recommendations. And unless I'm missing something, I think we're pretty much all in agreement with the staff funding recommendations. But why don't we just start from the top and
Sure.
work our way down there?
Right, so as Commissioner Saltzman said, in advance of this meeting, each allocation committee member provided staff with their individual funding preferences, and we as staff took that information and compiled it. And so the order in which we will consider each funding decision is based on the number of members who individually identified that program as something they are interested in funding. And they provided us with an amount. So we'll start with the areas, so to speak, of most agreement, where 5 out of 5 allocation committee members individually wanted to fund that program. And where there are more than one program that met those conditions, we will go in score order on the application. So with those ordering criteria in mind, we'll start with the ERCO Inspire program. 5 out of 5 allocation committee members expressed an interest in funding this application. The range was $100,000 over 2 years to $112,000. 4 out of 5 of you indicated $100,000 and 1 member indicated $112,000. Discussion.
Any discussion? Right, have a-
Looking at Julie.
I move that we allocate $100,000 for the ERCO Inspire program.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, great. It's been moved and seconded to fund ERCO Inspire at $100,000. All in favor, or any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so on to
All right.
Human Solutions.
Yes, the next program that all 5 of you indicated an interest in funding is the Human Solutions Learning Link program. 3 out of 5 of you indicated a funding amount of $100,000, and 2 out of 5 of you indicated a funding amount of $130,000. Discussion.
Well, I'll start. I recommended that 130 because of the work that Human Solutions does with their families, doing it in the apartment buildings and providing that holistic care for them, for the kids and their families. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that they got 130,000. And because they're serving out in East County, and I know they got extra points for that, but I think that there's such a need out there that it warrants a little bit more, some more dollars.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, so there's 2 of us at 130,000 and then 3 of us at 100,000.
Can we take the average?
The average would be $112,000.
Okay, 112 would be the average.
I'll move 112,000.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And that is to fund Human Solutions Learn Links program at $112,000. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's funded.
All right. The third program that 5 out of 5 of you indicated an interest in funding is the College Possible Mentoring Program. Let's see. 3 out of 5 of you indicated an amount of $160,000. 1 of you at $173,000, and 1 of you at $180,000.
Okay. So we have a little more variation here. Again, ranging from 160,000 for College Possible to 180,000. or 173,000? Do either of the people who recommended the higher amount want to make a pitch?
Okay, I'll pitch again.
Okay. Wait, were you one of those people?
No, I did 160, but
Oh, okay.
I should have did 180, I'm sorry. I did College Possible because we have very few programs that are targeting our high school kids, and I don't think that we really should forget about them because they're in need of going college too, and we have such a gap. And then out in the David Douglas area, there's a big gap out there again, out in East County, and there's such a need, and kids with lower incomes, they're at risk, and so I think this is an excellent program to fund at the higher amount.
Higher amount
I'm on
being,
a roll today.
and are you supporting the 173,000 or the 180,000 when you say the higher amount?
180,000.
180,000, okay. Further discussion?
So, this was the program that was going to open at David, sorry, this was the program that was going to open at David Douglas. So if we award them more money, where will it be spent?
I think it's important to keep in mind that the staff recommendation was $160,000 over 2 years, so $10,000 each year over 2 years is probably not enough money to think about another site so much as it is additional children at the existing site where they're already operating, so.
And it's scalable from a capacity standpoint to
I
do
think,
that?
I think so, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I move 180,000 to College Possible.
I second that.
Okay, moved and seconded, 180,000 for College Possible. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, 180,000 for College Possible.
All right, the fourth program on the list, where 5 out of 5 of you indicated an interest in funding the program, is Saturday Academy, and all 5 of you indicated the $75,000 that was recommended by staff.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we allocate $75,000 to Saturday Academy.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of $75,000 for Saturday Academy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, I just want to draw your attention to the balance that's remaining, which is $42,000. So there are 4 programs left on the list. The first program is one that 3 out of 5 of you indicated an interest in funding, but 2 of you did not provide, excuse me, never mind. 3 out of 5 of you indicated an interest in funding it, and the 3 of you that indicated an interest all indicated $13,000.
And I'm abstaining for that. from that
Okay,
one.
thanks, Rena.
Okay, so,
Can I ask a question about the ERCO Inspire? Could you, somebody talk a little bit about the program and what they originally asked for? I know I have this in my notes somewhere, but if anybody has it off the top of their head, how much they asked for and what the,
1365.
okay. I'm sorry, would you, I can't.
yeah, can you
okay,
speak on the
sorry.
microphone, Lisa?
They asked for,
They're funded at 800 currently, but they are providing service at 7 of the 8 sites they originally proposed. So this additional funding should allow them to provide the service at an additional school, which was David Douglas. The only one that they're not currently providing service that they proposed in their application was David Douglas High School.
and what, I'm sorry, what did you say they asked for originally?
About 1.3.
Okay. And my concern, and it's not a concern, but with the other amounts is kind of how Meg talked about earlier. Although in a different context, I don't know that giving $13,000 or $12,000 to one group is going to make that much of a difference, which is.
Well, I think the important thing to keep in mind, though, is this amount, a recommendation is based on the difference between what staff recommended last time and what you actually allocated.
Right.
And what you actually allocated was made in a decision of constraint because you didn't have this additional money that you now are thinking about. You took money out of the training fund to put toward
Right.
funding programs. And last time, there were 2 programs, this program, SEI, and POIC, that were being recommended by staff at the same amount of money to do similar work in partnership with each other. You funded one at the full staff recommendation. You funded the other at the average of your individual recommendations. So this would
SEI
get that program up to what we had recommended originally and the same amount that you gave the other provider for doing the same work, and they were proposing essentially a partnership.
Okay,
So-
thank you for that
Yep.
reminder.
So just keep in mind, these kind of small sums of money are about that difference between what you decided last time and what we had recommended last time, based on those factors that you had asked us to consider in advance of that last meeting.
And just to reiterate that, the other small amounts there are usually the amounts that it would take for them to come up to what they were funded at before the major cuts. So for both parent-child involvement, Safe Together, and, no, sorry, not Safe and Together, parent-child involvement and urban opportunities, those are amounts that were, the recommended amounts for June 2nd were the amounts that were taking them up to their previous funding level. So that's where, in other words, that's where the numbers came from. They were based on something, they weren't just sort of pulled out of the air. But when people are trying to work through a spreadsheet, then, things get cut.
And that's true for Saving Together as well.
That was true for them as well. Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the consideration of $13,000 for safe and self-enhancement aids.
Yep.
61, 71, 74.
So are we going to put that up there, or is there an motion to fund a different way or differently?
One of my considerations is that I would like to see additional investment in foster care. And that's one of the, I know we have not met our goals in any of our areas other than early childhood. But I see the foster care piece, I think, is just a critical one. And I see that this would be an opportunity for us to take this amount, I had recommended 40,000, but if it's 42,000, that's even better, and invest it in a foster care program.
The remaining
So that-
42,000?
Yes, so that would be my recommendation too, for those dollars to go to Impact Northwest Safe and Together program.
Okay.
Who do they serve in their Safe and Together program?
Lisa, do you want it? Lisa Hansel? It's,
What is the population, the demographics?
go ahead.
They serve children who are in foster care, ages 0 to 8, and all over the city of Portland. So they're working with families who the plan is to reunify with birth parent. And so they're doing intensive home visiting programs and parenting support and education, lots of case management, working with child welfare, working with the parents in helping them be in a position that they're able to safely have their children return home to them.
Are they working with a certain DHS office? And I say that because in foster care, the higher numbers are in the Native American and African American families. So if we break that down and we look at it, do you know exactly?
I don't have the demographics with me of who was served. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
And they do work with all of the branches, all the child welfare branches.
Maybe, could we ask a question? I think if we funded everybody that we have on the list here, we'd go like $42,000 over or something like that. Can you remind me what that would mean if we decided to do that?
I don't think it would probably mean anything. I think we can do that pretty easily.
Yeah, so.
Everything's based on projections.
Right, that's what I mean.
We have reserves of at least $500,000.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any, concern with any of the programs that, weren't 5 for 5, but if maybe the easy solution here would be just to fund them at the recommended levels, because I think the rest of them were all at staff, the people that supported them were at staff recommended levels, and we could go quote unquote in the hole a little bit and not grind our teeth over how to split up this last little bit.
I will say this, its latest revenue recording, it's based on an accrual estimate, is $75,000 above projections. So I feel pretty confident saying we'll be fine if we spend an extra $40,000, $50,000. Still maintaining a $500,000 reserve through the life of the levy. Barring, I mean, you know, we're at the end of year one, beginning of year two.
Right, right.
As long as the
Is it-
economy does well.
I mean,
But that's a problem sort of no matter what.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right, right. If anybody's got any opposition, I won't move, but if they do, okay, so I'd move to go ahead and fund the remaining programs at the amounts that staff recommended.
And I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, moved and seconded to fund the remaining,
So we're going 13, let's maybe say that.
yeah, so we'd be doing 13 for self-enhancement, intensive parenting services, 12,000 for
Urban impact, for Impact Northwest Urban Opportunities.
40,000 for Impact Northwest Safe and Together,
Correct.
and then 9,000 for Impact Northwest parent-child involvement.
That's correct.
That's the motion. Was there a second?
Serena, second.
Okay, there was a second, okay. Any further discussion? I will abstain from voting on this motion as it pertains to funding Impact Northwest programs, which I have an interest in, or conflict of interest in, however you decide. So I will abstain on that vote, but if there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? And one abstention. Great, so we are through, right?
You're through with any official decisions you had to make today,
Yeah,
yes.
we are through with any official decisions, so, and we've made our recommendations for the entire 8.1 million, or 8.1 million plus 42,000?
30,000.
31,000. Okay, so thank you, committee, for finishing up our work here, and it's always good when we can allocate extra money, so that's what these last two meetings have been about, and we congratulate those programs that we were able to provide additional funding to, and we congratulate and thank all the programs that we fund for the difference they're making in the lives of our children. So we don't have a particular meeting scheduled now. We don't have a next meeting scheduled, but we will let you know when we do set a meeting, and you're always welcome to follow us at portlandchildrenslevy.org. And I wish everyone a safe and enjoyable summer. We stand adjourned.